Do you have trouble controlling your volleys or creating power when you volley? Do you avoid the net because of your poor net play? Are you tired of hearing about how you should not be swinging on your volley? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you're going to want to watch this video. Hi, my name is Jeremy. I'm with Fundamental Tennis. Before we go any further, make sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell. In this video, I will show you what exactly a swing is, because we've all heard that you shouldn't swing on a volley. I'm going to tell you how to create power on your volleys without swinging, and also while maintaining control. Make sure to stay for the entire video, as you will hear valuable tips and drills to help you master the net. I'm going to show you 3 fantastic drills that are really going to help you to create power without swinging and help you get out of the habit of swinging. Enjoy. I think it's important to first establish why people swing and why you don't want to swing on your volley. And then we're going to talk about what exactly a swing is so that we can avoid it and have the awareness of when we are swinging so that we can stop swinging. Now, the reason we don't want to swing on a volley is because the more I move the racket or the more swing I have, the more difficult it will be to control the ball. Now, the reason people swing is because they're trying to create power, and oftentimes players come to the net from the baseline still doing ground strokes, as some of you may have not been taught the proper way to volley. So again, players swing because they're trying to create power, and then also sometimes they do not separate the technique from the baseline to the net, in which we should not be doing ground strokes where we're swinging. We should keep the motion much more compact and much more simple. So now let's get into what exactly is a swing. So there's 3 planes or barriers we don't want to break. Let's first talk about the vertical plane. At the end of the volley, I want to ensure that my hitting hand does not finish below my waist. So that's for the forehand and the backhand volley. Again, the hitting hand should not finish below the waist. This is going to help you with timing and with power. So the second barrier we don't want to break is the horizontal barrier. Okay? So if I'm hitting the volley this way, I need to make sure that my hand does not go any farther back than my back shoulder. So as a righty doing a forehand volley, my right shoulder. Once the hand breaks that plane, you're now going to make that volley quite difficult to execute with quality. Same in the backhand volley. We don't want the hitting hand to go any further back than your back shoulder, which will now be your left shoulder as a righty, again, if you're doing a backhand volley. Now the last plane we don't want to break is the lateral plane. This one is really important as well. For example, on the forehand volley, I want to ensure that my hitting hand stays on the hitting side of my body. So if I finish with my hitting hand over here, then I have broken the lateral plane. So I'm going to keep the racket and my hand on this side of my body. Same thing in the backhand volley. I keep the racket on this side of my body. I keep my hand on this side of the body. So we've got the 3 planes that you don't want to break. If you break any of these planes, it's going to make it more difficult to execute a high quality volley. So we've got this plane, no further back than the shoulder. We've got the vertical plane. We don't want to bring the hitting hand below the waist. And we've also got the lateral plane, in which we keep the racket on the hitting side of the body as opposed to breaking that plane. So think of that 3-dimensional cube. Another way you could think of how to not swing is to simply use the visual of keep your strings to the target throughout the entirety of the volley, forehand volley and backhand volley. So the preparation, the contact, and the finish, keep the strings somewhat to your target throughout the entire volley, and that will ensure that you are not swinging, you're keeping that motion compact so that you can hit your best volleys. If we know the power does not come from a large swing, then where can we get this power? The answer is you get it from your lower body, your legs pushing off the ground your momentum, weight transfer, moving to the ball, instead of what most people do is they wait for the ball, they set their feet, almost like a ground stroke. When you hit a ground stroke, you wait for the ball, you set your feet, and you swing. However, in a volley, you do not set your feet, if possible. You're going to move through the contact. So for example, I don't want to hit a volley like this. If I do, assuming I'm not receiving a fastball, I have to swing in order to create power. So what you'll see the pros do, whenever possible, they're going to move through the contact, okay? So they do not set their feet at contact. Now the key is that you should make contact with the ball prior to landing your step. That way you maintain good posture, you're able to keep your balance, and you get the power of your body going into the shot. So again, we want to use our legs pushing off the ground. It's going to look something like this. Make sure you can see me here. So I load on my outside foot and then boom. So you get power from pushing off the ground, you get power from moving to the ball, as opposed to waiting for the ball. Again, if you wait for the ball, you're going to have to swing to get power. In fact, that's how so many people swing on their volleys. That's the reason, because they're not using their legs, they're waiting for the ball. They're not using their athleticism. Therefore, they don't get power from the lower body, so they get power from the upper body. So a great analogy that I like to tell my players is, think of a duck in a pond. If you're underwater looking up at the duck, you can see the duck's feet paddling like crazy. Now when you look down at the duck from above the water, the upper body is very quiet, okay? So the lower body of the duck is paddling, and the upper body is very quiet. So I want you to think about being a duck in a pond when you volley. Lower body is what gives you power. It does all the pedaling, and the upper body, keeping the upper body quiet, keeping the upper body relatively still, is important so that you control the ball. So upper body is for control, just by keeping everything simple and compact. Lower body is where you want to be pedaling like the duck in the pond, okay? Lower body gets the power, upper body, keep it simple so that you have control. Now I want to mention something that's important. A lot of players, when they learn how to volley, they're taught to step with their opposite foot, okay? So it's one step. Now this is often accurate information in terms of the footwork. However, if you believe you're supposed to take only one step, then you're very often going to be waiting for the ball, and that's when you don't get power from the legs, the lower body, the safe, controlled power, and instead you're going to be swinging in order to get power, because that's the only way you can get power if you're not using your legs. Therefore, the swing is going to cause you to have a lot of volley errors. So again, it's not a one-step volley, not all the time, at least the majority of the time. Assuming you're not receiving a very fast ball, you should be moving through the contact as opposed to waiting for the ball. So don't let that step with the opposite foot confuse you, because that's only part of the footwork. We want to move through the contact when possible. Once again, the upper body's got to stay quiet, because if you're swinging, then you might get power, but it's not going to be controlled power. You're going to miss a lot. The power comes from the lower body. This will allow the upper body to stay compact, which will give you the control that you need. Here is the first of the 3 drills that I'm going to show you to help you work on your footwork and minimizing the upper body technique, keeping the swing compact. As you can see, my partner is on the same side of the net as me. I'm starting in about halfway between the service line and baseline. You could go a bit closer than that if you want, depending on your speed. And my partner is simply tossing the ball straight up, and I've got to get to the ball before it bounces. So this really forces you to move to the ball, because if you don't, the ball will bounce before you get there. So you can get away with waiting for the ball when you receive it from the other side of the net, but in this drill, it forces you to move to the ball so you get there before the bounce. In this second drill, you can see I'm alternating between forehand and backhand volley. I'm starting near the depth of the service line, and I'm touching the net immediately after every volley. Touching the net after I hit the volley as quick as I can is going to force me to move through the hit and move to the ball, as opposed to waiting for the ball. I like to tell my players that you want to meet the ball in the middle, and the middle is as close to the net as possible when you hit that volley. So notice, I'd like you to take a look at my landing of my foot. Let's see which volley. I think this is backhand volley. Notice how after I make contact, my right foot lands on the ground after contact. This is to ensure that I get that weight transfer, that full weight transfer into the shot. In this third and final drill, this is one of my favorite drills for footwork. This is a challenging drill, very challenging drill, believe it or not. As you can see, I'm not moving my racket 1 inch. I'm not moving my racket at all during the contact phase. Now this is so hard for players to do because they're so used to taking a massive swing. So as you can see, I'm still getting the ball over the net without moving my racket. So this drill forces you to move to the ball, because if you don't move your racket 1 inch, then you have to use your legs and your weight transfer and your movement forward to create enough oomph on the ball to get it over the net. So once again, you cannot move the racket, and you've got to get the ball over the net by using your legs. When I see players that swing on their volley, I always see poor footwork. When I see players that have good footwork and move to the ball, as opposed to waiting for the ball, I always see good technique with the upper body. So I've never seen somebody have a large swing on the volley and move their feet. So if you're swinging on your volley, you're not going to be moving your feet. You're not going to have control because you're getting the power from up here. Remember, the upper body is for control. Keep it simple. Lower body is what will give you safe power. Control and power. You know what to do with the upper and lower body now. Now you should be getting your opponent to run for their money. So don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. I'm very passionate about teaching tennis. I really want to help you all, so please let me know in the comments what you think of the video. Give me some feedback. Like the video. I'd love to hear some topics that you want me to cover in the future. And good luck with your volleys, and I will see you in next week's video.